There is a game from 2016 called Thumper. You guys may have played it. It's available on the MediQuest standalone and PC VR. That game was revolutionary for a few reasons, but I think that most of us remember it well because it was so psychedelic and almost had a kind of violence to it. Not in the sense that it was bloody or gory, but it had this impact. And the further you progressed into the game, the faster and the more chaotic it got. The art direction was amazing. The core mechanics of it were fantastic. It still holds up even 8 years later. And while the premise itself is this simple thing, visually it's just stunning. And that was created by Brian Gibson and Mark Fleury under a studio called Drool. And now, 8 years later, we have a game called Thrasher. You can consider it to be a kind of spiritual successor to Thumper, but it's an entirely different game. Whereas in Thumper, you were this kind of beetle screaming down a half pipe, where you have to take these quick turns in increasingly frantic succession, and in hitting these marks and doing what the game wants, it rewards you by firing these bursts of energy at this kind of hulking, psychedelic boss. And it's interesting because you could think of that as almost like a Wipeout, like it was a racing game at heart. Of course, there's more to it than that, so I'm simplifying it, but you're being propelled forward. And in this game, they've done away with that completely. The visuals are very much the same. I think they're enhanced. Like it's quite impressive what they've done with the atmosphere and the kind of horizon that expands and shrinks and kind of modulates around you as you're playing this game. But instead of propelling forward as you did with that beetle in Thumper, here you've got a kind of psychedelic eel on the end of a wand, and you kind of whip it left, right, up, down, and using that you have to cut at and explode these different grids and lines. They come in all different shapes, but the one thing they all have in common is that they are not red. When you're trying to cut at these objects to clear a map and in turn, again, kind of hurl this growing flood of energy at these bosses you're confronted with, they also give you these rotating cyclical orbs or bars that are red and you can't touch them. And in the process of doing this, of wielding that eel and kind of whipping it around, the goal ostensibly is to, in as few motions as possible, take out all of these grids and orbs and objects while avoiding the red barriers, whether they're bars or circles. And so with every level, just like in Thumper, it gets harder, it gets more fast-paced, it gets more chaotic. The difficulty compounds and increases, and with it they give you new tools. For instance, level 2 or 3, they give you this kind of diamond that always begins in the center of the map, and so you want to get to it before the red objects begin orbiting around it, because once you touch it with the tip of that eel, it's bound to you, and you can pull it away and take it out of the frame so that it's not in danger of being struck by these, I'm going to call them embers from now on. It's the easiest way of describing it. They're red, they're destructive. And so once you have that, you can pull the trigger and pull back almost like a bow and arrow, and then release, and it fires in the direction that you were aiming and just wipes out whatever's in its path. And so again, how much destruction can you incur in the shortest amount of time? And then you're given A, S, S+, B, scores and grades, and in the end, you're put on a leaderboard. And so that's the game, and it gets progressively more intense, progressively more difficult. But where Thumper was fun, I loved that game. Chilling on the couch or on an airplane, it's not relaxing. Don't call it relaxing because it's stressful and it's fast and your brain just has to be like pinned. You have to pay attention at every single moment because it's so fast. It's incoming so quickly. And while some of that is true with Thrasher, the intensity increases and the speed of things picks up. I would say that in a sense, it's almost less like Thumper and more like Tetris, which isn't to say that it's a casual game like Tetris is. It's not casual. It's not something you do for 5 minutes to kill the time, but it's undergirded by this intense music, these wild visuals. And there is something about hoisting up that eel and getting it out of dodge and getting a feel for how it moves in the space, and a real sense of achievement when, with precision, rip it across the path of these things you're trying to hit It's rewarding, it's fun, it's cool, it's beautiful, and I am impressed with this game. This dude, Brian Gibson, who is the link between these two games, he's got a vision, he knows what he wants to do, and he makes the very most of it with very little. This thing looks amazing, but it's all just visual eye candy. The game, the real thing that draws you in, is the attention to detail in how that thing whips around and how satisfying it is to slice through these objects. And I'm honestly excited to see what these guys do next. How could they possibly improve or modify such a jump from Thumper to Thrasher while maintaining the special effects and the kind of the fluid movements within the game? It's perfect. But what could they do in a third installment, maybe another 8 years from now, that maintains this quality and this style and kind of psychoactive nature of the game, while also removing the game mechanics completely out of it and then giving us an entirely new platform to play with, the way they did from Thumper to Thrasher? What's the next thing gonna be like? I'm excited. I want to know. And so I've been reaching out to these guys. I'm hoping they'll do an interview with me. I want to talk to Brian because he's the thing that links Thumper and Thrasher together. Despite the two different studios, it's him. If he's out there, I sent an email out. I'd like to have an interview to kind of answer those questions. And so if that happens, you'll find it on this channel. Please subscribe, like this video. It helps my channel a lot with the algorithm. I'm really glad you guys are here. If you guys want Thumper or Thrasher, you'll find both links down in the description. You'll get 20% off using my link. And as a reminder, as we close out the month of December, if you're in the market for a MetaQuest 3 or 3S, using one of my links down below, you'll get an additional $60 Quest cash. Normally, using my link, you'd get $30 Quest cash to buy whatever games you want. But this month, Christmas, you're getting $60 Quest cash. So if that's of use to you, use that link. You'd be supporting my channel. Thank you for being here. Godspeed.